Let me tell you something most people don't realize until it's too late. You are not tired, you're being drained. There's a difference. Your energy doesn't just vanish. It's being pulled by something or someone. And if you want to live a life of clarity, confidence, and contribution, then you've got to make one of the most powerful decisions of your life. You've got to distance yourself from the energy that drains you. People walk around confused about why they feel anxious, unmotivated, or lost. They think it's bad luck or burnout or just a bad day, but it's not. It's the energy you've allowed around you. That friend who always calls to complain, that coworker who constantly gossips, the environment filled with tension, fear, and small thinking. That's not harmless. That's a virus. And the longer you stay in that, the more it will infect you. You can't stay healthy in a toxic space. You can't build confidence in a circle of doubt. You can't reach your next level while babysitting someone else's chaos. Here's the truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Every time you allow drama, guilt, laziness, jealousy, or manipulation into your life without checking it, you're telling the world this is okay. I'll carry this burden. I'll shrink to make others comfortable. But that ends now because you were not born to play small. You were not made to carry the weight of others who refuse to heal. Start auditing your environment. Ask yourself, who do I feel lighter around? Who makes me feel drained, even after 5 minutes? That feeling in your gut, that's your signal. Listen to it, trust it, because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to walk away. And let's be clear, distancing yourself isn't about hate, it's not revenge, it's not ego, it's clarity. It's protecting the mission. It's saying, I've got somewhere to go. I've got things to build. I've got peace to protect. You cannot be everything to everyone. And you're not meant to. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is sacred. And if something or someone is constantly draining you, they're robbing you of your destiny. That is not selfish. That is survival. There's a version of you that's focused, peaceful, unstoppable. But you'll never meet that version until you clear the noise, until you distance yourself from the energy that confuses, consumes, and constricts you. So here's your challenge. Step back, unplug, reevaluate. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Start choosing your circle the way you choose your clothes. Does this fit the future I'm building? If not, cut it off with love, with grace, but without delay. Because the moment you distance yourself from the energy that drains you, you start attracting the energy that transforms you. And that right there is where your life begins again. You absorb what you surround yourself with. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful truths that shape your life, whether you're conscious of it or not. The people, conversations, environments, even the social media you consume, they're not just background noise. They're feeding you. They're shaping your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and ultimately your decisions. You think you're just being nice when you hang around someone who constantly complains. You think it's no big deal when you spend hours around people who doubt every big idea you have. But day by day, minute by minute, that energy seeps into you like water soaking into dry soil. Every environment is either charging you or draining you. It's either expanding your mindset or shrinking your potential. And the biggest trap? Most people stay too long in toxic environments because it's familiar. They say, I've known them forever, or it's my family, or I can't just walk away. But here's the hard truth. Familiarity is not the same as alignment. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean they're good for your future. Just because a place feels comfortable doesn't mean it's healthy. Growth is often uncomfortable, and sometimes that means standing alone for a season. But that season of isolation might be the price you pay for transformation. Look closely at what you let into your world. If you're surrounded by people who constantly make excuses, guess what you'll normalize? Excuses. If your environment is filled with small talk, gossip, low standards, then high standards will feel strange to you. Passion will feel uncomfortable. Ambition will feel too much. That's how powerful energy is. It creates a climate, and that climate either helps you grow or causes you to wilt. When you surround yourself with people who are hungry for growth, who speak with purpose, who support your evolution, you rise. Not because they push you, but because their energy gives you permission to step into your own power. And it's not just about other people. It's also about habits, routines, what you watch, what you listen to, what you feed your brain. If the first thing you do every morning is scroll through negativity, arguments, clickbait, you're programming your nervous system for stress. You're walking into your day already leaking energy. But if you wake up and you anchor yourself in purpose, if you move your body, protect your mind, speak gratitude before anything else, you're absorbing power. You're building internal momentum before the world can even touch you. You have to guard your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. You can't afford to be careless with what surrounds you. Everything carries a frequency, a vibration. The more tuned in you become, the more you'll notice what uplifts you and what drains you. And when you become aware of it, your standards will change. You'll stop settling for conversations that go nowhere. You'll stop trying to convince people to see your vision. You'll stop giving time to things that don't grow you. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the biggest shift in your life didn't come from some massive event. It came from a decision to stop absorbing low energy and start choosing high frequency living. It came from cutting out the noise, the drama, the doubt, and choosing to only allow in what fuels your growth. That's the moment you stop surviving and start thriving. That's when everything changes. Emotional vampires are real, and they're not always the loud, obvious people you think they are. In fact, many of them come dressed as friends, coworkers, even family, people you've trusted, supported, and maybe even relied on. They don't suck your blood, but they drain something far more valuable: your energy, your joy, your focus, your belief in yourself. And the worst part is they do it slowly, quietly, sometimes even politely. They use guilt, passive-aggressive comments, manipulation, constant neediness, and subtle criticism to chip away at your confidence until you start second-guessing who you are. These are the people who always make things about them. You bring up a win, you're excited, proud, ready to share your progress, and they find a way to downplay it or shift the conversation to their problems. You mention a new dream, and suddenly they're just being realistic, telling you why it probably won't work. You try to set boundaries, and suddenly you're the selfish one. They use your empathy as a leash. They make you feel responsible for their moods, their dysfunction, their chaos. And it's exhausting. Not because you don't care, but because you're trying to carry a weight that was never yours to begin with. And it doesn't stop there. Some of the most draining people in your life are those who refuse to grow. Every time you try to elevate, they pull you back down. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously. Misery loves company, and when you start rising, it threatens their comfort. So they'll find subtle ways to remind you of your past, highlight your flaws, or convince you to slow down and be realistic. What they're really saying is, stay where I can reach you. Because the higher you rise, the harder it becomes for them to control, guilt, or diminish you. You have to understand that not everyone around you is rooting for you, even if they smile to your face. Some people only support the version of you that stays small, predictable, manageable. The moment you begin to heal, grow, dream bigger, or speak up for yourself, you disrupt the dynamic they're comfortable with. And they don't like that. So they'll sabotage you with doubt, disguise manipulation as concern, or act like you've changed in a bad way when in fact you've simply evolved. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Loyalty to people who drain you is not noble. It's self-sabotage. You are not obligated to keep someone in your life just because of history. If the price of that relationship is your peace, your energy, your progress, then that cost is too high. And you don't need drama or confrontation to create distance. You don't need to explain yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes you simply create space. You answer slower. You spend less time. You protect your energy, not because you're cold, but because you're done being consumed. Once you begin to value your energy, everything changes. You start to recognize patterns. You notice how certain people make you feel heavy, anxious, tired. That's not normal. That's not just life. That's energy being taken without permission. And when you finally have the courage to step away from those who drain you, you create space for people who energize you, people who challenge you, inspire you, support your highest version. You weren't meant to carry everyone. You weren't meant to be a lifeline for people who refuse to swim. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to walk away from anything or anyone that forces you to betray yourself to stay connected. Because when you remove the energy that drains you, you finally have room to receive the energy that builds you. And that's when you start living fully, not just surviving quietly. Protecting your energy isn't something you do once. It's something you commit to every single day. It's a discipline, a muscle you strengthen through awareness, boundaries, and self-respect. Because in a world that's constantly demanding your attention, pulling you in every direction, and trying to influence your emotions, your energy is your most valuable currency. And if you don't learn how to protect it, someone else will spend it for you. Every phone call you take, every conversation you engage in, every piece of content you consume, it either adds to your energy or drains it. And you've got to become the kind of person who doesn't just notice that, but acts on it. Too many people wake up and go straight into the chaos of the world. They check messages before checking in with themselves. They give away their focus before they've even set their intentions. And then they wonder why they feel scattered, unfocused, and reactive all day. It's not a mystery, it's a system failure. When you don't claim your energy in the morning, you leave it vulnerable to everything and everyone else. That's why the first act of protecting your energy starts with how you begin your day. Not with scrolling, not with reacting, but with grounding. That could be a walk, a breathwork session, a journal, a moment of silence. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is that it's yours. Next comes boundaries. And this is where most people struggle because they've been trained to think that saying no is rude, that protecting your time is selfish, that putting yourself first is arrogant. But let me be clear. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're filters that let the right people in. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that could. You've got to stop apologizing for needing space. Stop explaining why you don't want to answer every call, respond to every message, or attend every event. You're not here to be available to everyone. You're here to be aligned with your purpose. You also need to be intentional with your physical environment. Your space should reflect the energy you want to live in. If your surroundings are chaotic, cluttered, or noisy, it's going to weigh on you. But when you design your environment to support calm, clarity, and focus, everything starts to shift. Light, order, sound, even smell, these things shape how you feel, think, and perform. So take control. Create an environment that's not just functional, but energizing, because your space is a mirror of your mind. Clean space, clean energy. Another part of protecting your energy is being aware of energy leaks. These are the little things that go unnoticed, but slowly chip away at your focus. Unfinished tasks, unresolved emotions, unclear conversations. Every time you avoid something, you carry it. Every time you tolerate something you shouldn't, it drains you. So pay attention. Energy leaks might seem small in the moment, but over time, they leave you exhausted. Seal them. Have the hard conversation. Make the decision. Complete the task. That's how you reclaim your power. Finally, give yourself permission to disconnect. You don't always need to be online, available, or plugged in. Stillness isn't laziness, it's necessary. Silence isn't emptiness, it's sacred. Make space to breathe, to reflect, to recalibrate. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means participating in the world from a place of fullness, not depletion. Because when your energy is protected, your clarity sharpens, your choices improve, your presence deepens. You become less reactive, more intentional. And that shift is where your power lives. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is simply creating space. Distance isn't about cutting people off out of anger or shutting down emotionally. It's about gaining the clarity you can't access when you're buried in noise, dysfunction, or constant emotional pressure. When you're too close to a situation, you absorb all of it. The confusion, the guilt, the fear, the false responsibility. And in that place, it's almost impossible to see what's really going on. You lose your perspective. You begin to question your own needs. You start feeling guilty for wanting peace, for needing boundaries, for trying to grow. That's the power of draining energy. It fogs your judgment and makes you feel like you're the problem for trying to protect yourself. But the moment you take a step back, even a small one, something powerful happens. You start to breathe differently. You hear yourself more clearly. You recognize who you were becoming in the presence of people or environments that were misaligned with your growth. And that realization is not always easy. It's sobering. You might see that you've been overextending, people-pleasing, suppressing your truth just to keep the peace. You may notice that certain relationships only worked when you stayed small, agreeable, or emotionally available on demand. Distance reveals the dynamics that presence keeps hidden. And yes, creating space can feel lonely at first. It might make you question if you made the right call. But growth always feels isolating before it feels empowering. You are no longer available for energies that don't respect your light, and not everyone will understand that. Some people will guilt you. Some will call you cold. But that's because your distance removes their ability to access you in the way they've been used to. And that's okay. You are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your own clarity. The beautiful thing about distance is that it doesn't just reveal what's not for you, it also makes room for what is. The moment you step away from the chaos, you begin to attract calm. When you stop feeding into the same old patterns, you create room for alignment. New energy, new relationships, new levels of self-worth. They don't enter your life until you let go of what's draining you. And sometimes it's not about replacing anyone or anything immediately. Sometimes it's just about giving yourself permission to be alone long enough to hear what your soul's been trying to say. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from getting quiet enough to hear the truth that's already within you. And healing doesn't require a crowd. It requires courage. The courage to walk away, the courage to not respond, the courage to take a break from someone who's always in crisis, the courage to no longer pretend that you're okay with things that are slowly breaking you. That distance gives you time to remember who you are without the influence of everyone else's demands. When you reclaim that space, you begin to notice your energy returning. Your mind clears. Your heart feels lighter. You stop reacting and start choosing. That's the shift. You become more intentional with who you allow close. You stop begging to be understood. You stop chasing connection and start honoring alignment. You no longer compromise peace for the illusion of closeness. Distance doesn't mean you're bitter. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're wise enough to know what you need to thrive. And if something consistently takes more from you than it gives, then it's not love, it's depletion. Step back. Breathe. Heal. That's not weakness. That's strength. And that strength will become the foundation for the life you were always meant to live.